Welcome to the Startempire Wire Founders Podcast, where we make entrepreneurial founders a top priority. Each episode features risk takers, business builders, community shapers, institutional and government supporters in our local startup ecosystem. Tune in weekly to hear all about what's happening with the movers and the shakers of Southern California's Inland Empire and beyond. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Various Smith, and welcome back to the Founders Podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Aaron Hardin of Hardin Scientific. Aaron himself is not currently in the Inland Empire, but he started his startup here in the Inland Empire. I believe the Marietta area, somewhere like that. And Aaron still has the R&D arm of his startup here in the Inland Empire. So I think he's, mobile back and forth between, the regions. Tell me a little bit, Aaron. Number one, first introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Give us the whole shebang.
All right. My name is Aaron Hardin. I'm a founder, CEO, technologist, inventor. I got my entrepreneurial experience from a very early age, selling candy and baseball cards, things of that nature. My father always told me, you're going to be an entrepreneur when you grow up. It's like, what is that? But sure enough, put myself through college, had a couple businesses to kind of pay my way through college. Went out to California, lived with my father-in-law for a little while, helped him rebuild his business out there, worked as a hired gun, going to business, putting SOPs and everything like that in place. Then I founded Hardin Scientific because I saw that there's a technological void in the BioTech industry where the equipment was largely unchanged for over 30 years. And so I decided to sit in the middle of that void, developed some of the first smart equipment, IoT equipment for the medical device space, and then moved out here to Kentucky, where our manufacturing facility is. So the R&D and the majority of our customers are still there in California, but the manufacturing operations is actually done out here for obvious overhead reasons.
Man, I love it, dude. Thank you so much for that introduction and that little bit of a background. We're going to get around to where they can find you later, but tell us a little bit more about Hardin Scientific, okay? What was the spark that caused your startup? Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's a book I like. It's called The E-Myth, and it really talks about entrepreneurship isn't like this stroke of genius where some people are better than other people or anything of that nature. It's more of an entrepreneurial seizure where you just get completely overwhelmed with the desire to fix something, and then you start heading down that path. And that's really what I did with Hardin Scientific. So I started Hardin Scientific initially to try and innovate the industry to make the equipment better. I was tired of going into laboratories and helping them fix a piece of equipment that had broken or something of that nature, and hear their story about how they had 18 months worth of their graduate research or something in that piece of equipment, and now they got to start over. So that's where I ended up going. I actually wrote a piece of paper that was talking about data loggers being a band-aid to a larger problem. The problem being the equipment isn't smart and it wasn't solving that need. And so they invented this other piece of equipment that they would bolt onto the side of it in order to monitor it when they're not at the lab. But it's always going bad. It's always sending false alarms, things of that nature.
That's eye-opening. I mean, that really is eye-opening. I'm gonna have to read that paper. Send it to me, seriously.
We'll do.
Okay.
It wasn't until after I had my second born, my daughter, she was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. So that's a rare genetic disease. And so it really lit a fire under my rear, made sure that I was going to do something instead
Wow.
of just instead of doing something for a monetary gain or to fix a problem. It was rare genetic diseases. They generally don't have tremendous budgets to create new pharmaceuticals, new treatments, new anything. Luckily, cystic fibrosis has had it's been around long enough. People have known about it long enough that it's got a lot of backing behind it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of rare genetic diseases. Like one in 10 people is going to have a rare genetic disease or be exposed to someone that has one.
Yeah.
But not all of them have research funds behind them.
Wow. Okay.
And so at that point, we went from IoT, bigger, better, faster equipment to hardware as a service. And so that really revolutionized the way some of these small startup companies or these small research labs get access to superior equipment.
I hadn't it hadn't come to my mind that, hardware as a service, is something that's even appealing. But if it's not like an individual, those research labs on a hardware as a service type plan would be perfect. That's revolutionary. Is there anyone else who's doing what you're doing the way you're doing it?
No, I think I've seen a couple people look at the hardware as a service model favorably. But the big thing that we noticed is there's two bell curves. You have at one end of the spectrum, you've got people who can't afford state-of-the-art equipment, and so they will likely never buy state-of-the-art equipment.
Yes.
Not that they don't need it, but they can't necessarily afford it.
Right.
On the other side of the spectrum, you have extremely large pharmaceutical companies, diagnostic companies, stuff like that, and they will never buy from the used equipment market because they need the high precision and they don't necessarily need to worry about the cost.
Wow.
And so in order to bridge the gap between those two, you have hardware as a service. And so you get access to the best equipment without having to pay exorbitant amounts in capital equipment acquisitions.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, that's a great way to explain it, the bell curves. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of opportunity in this space. As an example, I had a conversation with the DoD, about 800 offices on that call, and we were talking about Humvees and helicopters and things of that nature, so government-funded equipment, and how it takes so long to get through all of the red tape to get a budget to buy a new Humvee. But by the time they buy that piece of equipment, generator, Humvee, something of that nature, there's already 4 or 5 iterations on that piece of equipment, so it's outdated, and that poses a pretty significant security risk, and it poses a very large burden to our unit readiness, being able to get our units deployed, because then they got to get new equipment, and they got to learn the new equipment, and then they can deploy.
I mean, that solves a huge issue, right? With the way you're doing it, right?
Yeah, with the hardware as a service, it's a contract mod now on every existing government contract. So this is huge. Every existing government contract can elect to have hardware as a service instead of capital acquisition.
Oh, wow.
So now, if you do laptops, generators, solar systems, something of that nature, the contract can be modded so that they can subscribe to the products that they need, and if the provider doesn't provide adequate product, the state-of-the-art, the right customer service, if it's always sitting in a motor pool broken or something of that nature, then they can easily switch that contract to someone that's actually going to do what they need them to do.
Wow.
So there's going to be a lot of bureaucracy that's got to filter through and percolate in order for everyone to be aware of it. But it's definitely there. It's definitely moving.
So if anyone in our audience is looking to move into the hardware as a service, I know a few startups locally who actually might be able to do hardware as a service. They may not even know about this this modification and the contracts for government stuff. So I'm gonna send them this podcast and tell them to watch it, because they might be a good connection for you as well, because they do a lot of government military contracts and stuff like that. So that's really awesome.
I'll do a quick shout out to Nino. He's over at DTIP, so Defense Technology Innovation Program.
Where are they at?
You can look him up on LinkedIn. He's all over the place.
Okay, is he local here to the Inland Empire though?
I'm not entirely sure where he's local to.
Okay, but he's just someone
he's readily accessible. He's got his finger on the pulse of innovating in the government sphere.
Yeah. Okay. So D-Tip, y'all go contact him, and so that's pretty cool. So maybe I can connect my friends with him as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's go back to your powerful and purposeful why. That's freaking awesome to have that why, because most people have a why. They want to make a lot of money. But what you're doing right now, it's like rocket propulsion, right, to your why, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that, man. I didn't want to just fly over that, even though we're going to our next question, but I love that. So tell us a little bit about the growth of Hardin Scientific, and what are some of those growing pains that you've experienced?
I was actually a member of Junto Global. They're down in San Diego.
Yes.
I believe they're getting a faction up in the Inland Empire.
Okay.
Not entirely sure on that one. It's been a while since I've looked into it,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a speaker. His name is Chris Duncan, that really resonated, and he said, this was early during my startup days. He said there's a couple steps that you actually go through. The first step is all about the market.
Yeah.
And so your market research, you're trying to find something that someone is willing to pay for. So you have an idea of what you want to do. You may even have an alpha prototype or something of that nature, but you're not out of that stage yet until you ask enough people what they want, how they want it, what problem they want it to solve, and then when you're ready to get out of that stage, the market will do it for you.
Yes.
So you will go from having an idea of what you need to sell to having a product or something of that nature, and people are saying, how much do you want for this? I need it. Solve this problem for me. And that is probably, I guess, because we started with some of his words of wisdom. It's still a roller coaster. You still have ups and downs. You have good days and bad days. You have this amazing big contract, then all of a sudden they get bought out and the contract's dead. So you have stuff like that, and the pain is real. I mean, you're celebrating one day and then you get a phone call and someone just completely whips the rug out from under you.
Dude, I never heard of something like that happening, but that's crazy. Yeah. That happened to you guys?
Well, the BioTech is a very rapidly moving and evolving space, and so it's something like 95% of businesses don't make it past 3 years in the space. They either get acquired, they go bankrupt, or they run out of funding and they're still doing it in someone's garage or something.
Right.
I mean, it's a really rapidly evolving space.
Okay.
But it's all the more reason for hardware as a service.
Yeah.
So you can spool up a lab really quick and then move over to this. That creates a little bit of difficulties for us because we go and we install several $1 million worth of equipment in this lab and then they get bought out tomorrow. Now we've either got to move the equipment or convince the people who bought them that they need to keep our equipment. But
wow.
It's still good. I love the type of people that we're enabling with our equipment though. So that definitely means a lot.
That's huge. That's a growing pain, man. That is a growing pain. The Inland Empire startup ecosystem industry is tremendously fragmented. A few top-tier hubs, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, are well covered by media, events, and data platforms. Finding reliable information relevant to startups or the tech industry in the Inland Empire is extremely difficult. As a result, startups can't scale fast enough. Investors are having a hard time finding the right deals, and corporates can't find the right companies to partner with for their innovation activities. Startempire Wire, the leading Inland Empire startup publication, is providing the Inland Empire startup ecosystem with the most accurate, engaging business and financial data, events, and news. Our reach of entrepreneurs, C-level executives, angels, VC investors, startup employees, key management at innovative corporates, and big tech is the solution for your B2B or B2C needs. As we build out our platform, we're looking for partners. This is your opportunity to get in on the ground level. If you're looking to align yourself with the local and growing startup and tech ecosystem of the Inland Empire, we have created the platform to get your name noticed and the opportunity for you to grow the recognition of your brand. Contact us today for availability and pricing options. We look forward to our partnership with you. So next thing I want to ask you is current needs of your startup. Like, you know, where are you guys at? A lot of startups mostly need funding, but tell us what, you know, what are some of your needs? How are you approaching getting those things fulfilled?
Never take anything for granted.
Yeah, right.
And so over the last year or so, for obvious reasons, we built our supply chain 4 different times.
Oh my God.
So we would get product and microchips and stuff like that from everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, Korea, Mexico, Canada, all over the place.
Okay.
And then all the borders shut down. There's no ships leaving. We've got a limited supply of stuff on hand, which we ended up using some additive manufacturing and some of the technology and stuff to compensate in some areas.
Some 3D printing stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
3D printing is really good for rapid prototyping, but some of the precision, you probably hear one in the background.
Yeah.
Some of the precision that you can get out of them nowadays, you can make finished product with them. And so it's
what
really
kind of 3D printers are you using? What type?
Well,
just a little geek speak.
I've got oh goodness, probably too many of them. I'm 3D
I got one sitting right here.
Yeah, I've got FDM printers. I've got the resin printers, the STL printers. The metal sintering, to where it will actually use the laser and melt the powder and stuff of that nature.
Wow. That's nice. Have you wait? You know, whenever I meet a 3D printing geek like myself, I have to ask a question. Have you ever built one? Have you ever thought about building one? I've thought about building one.
I actually have the first 3D printer that I got was kind of top of the line. It was the Ultimaker.
Ultimaker, good name.
Extended. Yeah.
I have a Creality. Yeah.
I bought it from a friend who was getting ready to go backpacking through Europe or something. And I bought it and then I started printing with it, and it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. So I ended up changing virtually everything on that machine. So
wow,
stepper
it's
mode
fine.
boards, all metal hot ends, you name it. So
oh, come on, I love it, man.
The closest I've came to actually building one myself, though.
If you want to see a YouTube rabbit hole, find out me looking at 3D printer stuff. Yeah, I'm telling you, some good channels on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
the company that makes the rockets, the 3D printed aluminum rockets, is just I think it's either Riverside or Los Angeles that they operate out of.
Okay, well, you got to give me their information, man, because if they're here in the Inland Empire, I definitely want to get them on. If they're in it, regardless of where they're at, I'm going to check them out, though. So, yeah, send me that info.
Yeah,
so,
pretty cool.
Cool. All right, so you did some additive manufacturing. At this point, like, what would you say is like the top thing at the top of your list that Hardin Scientific is in need of, you know?
So, and this will mean a lot. We need semiconductors more than anything. Like virtually 90% of semiconductors are manufactured in Taiwan. TSMC, they have pinned the market down. So either you need some of their equipment, or you need them specifically as a foundry to make a lot of the products. And so you've got systems on a chip and everything else. Early on, not specifically from TSMC, but we noticed we had to hand check every one of our integrated circuits.
Yeah.
Because they would come either riddled with malware, they would come with imperfections or bad solder joints and all of this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so we had a lot of overhead just addressing that.
Yeah, so that's an expense itself. Yeah.
The problem is global right now, though. So you've got all of your OEMs, your auto manufacturers, the consumer electronic businesses and everything. So the price for those components are increasing monthly. So 300% increases at a time.
So Taiwan is the largest place where these are produced. Are they produced anywhere else? Like in Mexico? Nah, probably not Mexico, huh?
No, I don't know of which there may be, but I don't know of any semiconductor manufacturers in Mexico. It's Taiwan, Japan, Russia can make, I don't think they can go under 35 nanometers, but there's all obvious reasons why we're not doing business with Russia right now. And then you have South Korea, I believe. They also manufacture some components.
Okay, but I think I heard of South Korea. Yeah, and of course Japan.
The need is so high, though, that just this last April, I launched a new company. It's called American Integrated Circuit.
Yeah.
So we are manufacturing semiconductors here in Kentucky.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
I stayed up for about 3 nights straight, just running over the numbers and the projections and the IP and everything of that nature, because it's virtually impossible to actually be competitive in the space. Yeah. So the cost of refinement, the cost of etching, the cost of the finished grade product is commonly so high, you're upside down by the time you're shipping product. So Samsung, TSMC, Texas Instruments, and Intel have all announced new plants here in the United States
doing semiconductors.
No one has really addressed the silicon refinement aspect to that. So they would still be buying their raw materials, their bulk raw materials from overseas.
Yeah.
So
didn't Elon Musk do his own semiconductors or for
he
Tesla?
Has his own chips. He has his own AI chips and things of that nature. I'm not sure the extent of his manufacturing capability, but you still have going back to the wafers. The wafers are still made overseas. And
Wafers still
so
made overseas.
making the wafers here in the U.S. is one of the things that we're pioneering.
Oh,
So
okay.
I ended up developing intellectual property that around the refinement process that makes it 23 times more efficient.
Ooh.
So that means not only can America compete, but we can dominate.
Yeah.
That's always nice.
That's good and especially to make your own chips. I mean, yeah.
I
So
also,
tell us the name of that. Tell us the name of that startup, because we'll put that information out there as well too. But we definitely want
American Integrated Circuit.
American Integrated Circuit. Let's revisit that. Okay.
Will do.
Okay. So the next two questions, really quick. What are your current short-term goals for Hardin Scientific? Like top three. And then we're gonna go, what's some big, hairy, audacious. What do you want in 3 years? What do you want in 5 years? What do you want in 10 years? Okay. Ready? Go.
The top three goals for Hardin Scientific is to address our
immediate goals. Immediate goals.
Yes, we absolutely need to get our logistics in line so that we can ramp back up our manufacturing operations.
Okay. Number one. That's one.
We need to ship product to the majority of the biotech companies and extend into New York, Boston, and Florida. So those are three hotspots of the biotech industry. So you've got, there's actually BioTech Beach, BioTech Bay, St. Paul, Minneapolis, New York, and Florida. So those are your hotspots. Do your market research. You need to know who your markets are.
Okay.
But ideally, we can go ahead and we can start selling product into those areas.
Okay.
The third is we're working on an FDA open API. And so we want our equipment to report the calibration records, the maintenance records, all of the compliance things directly to the FDA, so that they don't have to worry about sending someone else to inspect the paperwork of whether what they're doing is complying with the ISO certifications or with the necessary governing bodies. So then the FDA can actually start paying more attention on what is being done, how it's being done, the clinical trials, things of that nature, so that they can really make sure that things stay safe, but yet we're being innovative and we're pushing the boundary of what is possible in the biotech space.
Nice. Okay, those are great immediate ones. Tell us, in 3 years, where do you see Hardin Scientific?
3 years, God, so much changes in a year, from year to year. In 3 years, I would like the majority of equipment to be hardware as a service. If that means us, then I am all the happier. About $60 trillion worth of the US GDP is spent buying offshore laboratory equipment and medical devices. And so I would love in 3 years to be a small decimal on that scale, like 0.2%. I think my investors and my employees would be very happy.
Wow, that's really good.
Really impact.
All right, what about 5 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Hardin Scientific, 5 years.
The gold standard of laboratory equipment. If you're doing research, if you're doing innovation, you're doing clinical trials, something of that nature, the product catalog that you pick up is Hardin Scientific, not one of the competitors.
Nice. 10 years out, where is Hardin Scientific in 10 years?
10 years, we're in lunar orbit, we're on Mars. A lot of our equipment, I actually wrote another article, Built for Space.
That's cool. Man,
one of the companies that we were working with I think it's Space Tango. They're actually here in Ohio, I believe.
What?
But they were doing.
Right.
They were looking to set up this orbital research facility.
Wow,
and
that's so
I told
true.
them, I said, my equipment is perfect for it. So
Man, you're hitting on all.
modular.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're hitting on all cylinders, bro. Like all the geek cylinders here, because you include space, biotech, 3D printing. Come on, man. Okay, I love it, Aaron. Everything that you just told me today. I'm sure someone out there who's an investor, who may be a future customer, who may be into bio, the biotech, is going to benefit from knowing about this. But they're gonna need to find you. Where do they find you at? How can they get in touch with you? Websites, social media, everything. Where they find you?
So LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, Aaron J. Hardin. It's fairly easy to find me. I'm in my nice blue suit. I'm working from home today, so you've got me in a t-shirt.
Sorry.
But I'm talking to startups, so it
yes.
fits.
It's right, yes.
My CTO, he says I'm the technology officer. T-shirts is like, that is my suit. Like,
That's it.
But
that is it.
So you can reach me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can reach out on either HardinScientific.com or the newest venture, AmericanIntegratedCircuit.com.
Man, thank you so much, Aaron. I've really sincerely learned so much today, and like I enjoyed the conversation, man. The geek speak. Thank you for coming on the Founders Podcast. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah. And to the audience, tune in next time for the Founders Podcast. Thank you for listening this time, but come back next time where we're interviewing all of the founders, every leader and feeder in the startup ecosystem. This is our job here at Startempire. Peace.